This is Concealed Carry Podcast, Season 11, Episode 1. And welcome to the Concealed Carry Podcast, part of the concealedcarry.com network, brought to you by HK. Today is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. As of the recording of this episode, it's first episode of 2025 for us. Apologize for like 2 weeks plus off with the holidays and everything. But here we are welcoming in the new year with a special guest, which we'll introduce. But first, Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Everybody everywhere seems to be sick, and I took my sick turn back in December, so I'm doing good now.
Hopefully you have all the immune system after your bout, because you weren't feeling great either for a good like 2 weeks, it seemed like.
Yeah, I was down, but I'm going to go to SHOT Show next week, so I'm sure I'll be sick again soon.
And I've been pretty kind of up and down with whatever I've been dealing with for a week or 8 days now, but hopefully on the uphill climb. And our special guest today is Dan Brady, and he's also been fighting something. So at least two of us here have a cough that I'll do the best to mute myself as I feel the urge come on, and we'll see how Dan does. But since he we'll probably be doing more talking than even I will. But Dan Brady from Apache Solutions out in North Carolina. Speaking of which, website for Apache is Apache, APACHENC.com. Is that right, Dan?
It is.
Like Apache, North Carolina, because that's where y'all are based. ApacheNC.com. Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself real quick and say hello to the folks.
Hey, everybody. I'm Dan Brady, as Riley said. I work for a company called Apache Solutions based in Yadkinville, North Carolina, which is just outside of Winston-Salem. It's run by a guy named Tim Kelly, who's another trainer. And our mission really is to create or help foster a more educated and responsible armed community. That's our mission statement. Yeah. And I met Tim at an instructor class about 5.5 years ago, I guess. After looking at opening up my own business, and I saw what Tim was doing at Apache, and I was like, I'm sold, man. And I immediately went to work for him. He's the best leader of any kind I've ever seen. And I love working for Apache as my sort of side gig. Full-time, I am still a law enforcement officer. I work for the Department of Defense. I primarily teach people how to do this. So,
meaning, and for those that are listening only, he indicated motioning his trigger finger. So.
Yeah, I've been a sworn law enforcement officer for just shy, right around 25 years now.
Fantastic. You gonna keep doing it for a while longer yet, or retirement coming up, or what do you think?
Depends on what finances look like, but I probably still got about 10 years left.
Yeah, right on, dude, right on. And Dan, we got connected actually via social media, you and I primarily first and foremost.
Yep.
And knew each other that way for quite some time. I think before we first met in person. Mm-hmm. It was like love at first sight when we first, connected. But no. And I want to make sure people know that you did a huge thing. You were already planning on helping as a volunteer, an AI, if you will, an assistant instructor at the Guardian Conference last year. And last minute, we lost one of our headline instructors. And I called you with what, 36-hour notice, 24-hour notice, 48 hour? I don't remember. It was like a day or two before the event officially kicked off. I'm like, Dan, I need you to teach at our conference, bro. And you were like, yeah, I got it.
Yep. Yeah, I had just shut out the light in my hotel in Arkansas with Chris Bean, and your text message popped up on my phone. It was just after 10 o'clock at night on Wednesday, and conference officially started at 8 o'clock on Friday morning. So yeah, Riley was like, hey, you got some material you could do? And I'm like, what do I have for resources? And he's like, not a lot. I was like, I'll figure something out.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to, have an instructor that's supposed to be teaching combatives.
Oh, yeah.
It's like one thing, it's like, hey, you got guns and mags and stuff, right? You can teach a shooting class, but, like, hey, we need just to kind of somehow fill this spot that was left by our combatives instructor. But anyway, just an emergency came up in his life. So no harm, no foul there from our part. But you did a great job and appreciate you stepping in. And so to that point, the 2025 Guardian Conference is one of our sponsors of today's episode, making this possible. We've already sold we're more than halfway sold out in terms of tickets and capacity on next year's event, and we're starting to hit it again hard as far as making sure folks know they need to sign up and get going. This year, what is it, September
19, 20, 21?
Something like
that.
18, yeah, sounds right.
Whatever that Friday, Saturday, Sunday is. Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds
always
right.
The third weekend of September, and it's in Oklahoma City. Again, that's the place. So folks, come on and join us in Oklahoma City in September 2025. We expect to have Dan Brady back and officially teaching and having more preparation and all that. And that'll be awesome. So yeah, we've got most of our instructors confirmed and lined up, and we'll be releasing the full list, I hope, sooner rather than later, as far as who to expect. But folks, right now, Jacob, tell them a little bit about pricing. We still have not super early bird, but early bird pricing in effect, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So right now, if you're a Guardian Nation member, that means that you could get signed up for only $650. Good. No, wait. Yeah, 650. That sounds right. Sometimes you forget your own price for your own stuff. Yeah. So right now, if you are a member, you would pay $550. Excuse me. So Guardian Nation members, $550 to sign up right now, and those who are not members, $700. So the standard price is $800. So right now, $550 is a pretty darn good deal for 3 days of expert training, which includes most of your meals. So it makes sense, even if you join Guardian Nation for 1 month, just so that you can get the discount of $150 additional off of the Guardian Conference ticket. So yeah, $550 right now. And that'll probably be true for another month or so before we get rid of the early bird pricing.
That's right. So go to guardianconference.com and sign up today. Guardianconference.com. Also, today's episode is sponsored by CCW Safe. You see on the banner on the bottom of the screen there, those of you watching, ccwsafe.com, longtime supporters of ours, and we believe their product is the best for self-defense, legal coverage, as far as programs go. So please consider checking them out, ccwsafe.com. And we already mentioned, of course, Dan's with Apache nc.com. They get an official honorary mention there, and anything else Dan wants to plug later on in the episode. So one more thing, though, we're going to be talking about dealing with the vehicle problem, dealing with threats in and around whatever you may find yourself in terms of vehicle, how to deal with that a little bit more effectively. That's a lot of what Dan taught at this last conference, and it's something he knows something about. So I look forward to that conversation here in a moment. But Jacob, first we got something we got to take care of, because we mentioned it would be
something administrative
announced live. And so here we are live. What are we doing?
So yes, we just got done doing our annual Defender's Dream giveaway. So I say annual, we've done it 2 years in a row. So it's not like some crazy tradition, but we're really, we like doing this giveaway. It's a big giveaway. Last year, the way we did it is we had like 20 prizes and the same person won it all. It was one big, massive grand prize. This year, we did something a little different where we have 26 prizes and each one is being won by a different person. So this way, it dramatically increases your odds of winning, right? There's however many, 26 different winners. And so that's kind of cool. So yeah, we're going to pull those winners live.
Awesome. Let's do it. How are we gonna do it?
Okay. Yeah, I got it right here. So we use this new software, and there's this big orange button that says "Pull Winner." So I guess I click on this button, and that's what's going to happen. That's what I get from that. So here we go. Stand by.
So we're picking a first winner. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yeah,
I mean, it helps
the first
if we like build
prize.
this up and like, yeah, like what are they
Yeah,
getting?
no, I'm gonna tell you what the prize is, and then we'll tell you who we're pulling. And we're gonna try to respect privacy. We're not gonna give people's full names and all that jazz. If you think you won because for example, if we have someone whose name is Bob as a winner, there's a lot of Bobs who probably entered this giveaway, the sweepstakes, and your name is Bob. You're like, man, I wonder if I won. Note that you should be looking for an email. We're going to contact winners via email, and you have to respond within 72 hours or you forfeit your prize, and we go pull another winner because we can't wait forever for people to respond. We actually have to get these prices handed out. They can't, we don't want to be accused of not actually handing out the prizes. So we're going to start. First thing we're going to give away is a Condition 1 case. This is a 14-inch medium case. They call it their number 75 case. It's a really nice gun case. These guys make good cases. They're based out of Texas, and I think that they do good work. They make nice products. So yeah, we're going to pull that one first. Here we go. I'm pushing the fancy button. Stand by. All right. Our winner is Ken. Ken, who has a Gmail address and looks like their last name probably starts with an H. So Ken with an H with a Gmail address, you are the winner of the Condition 1 case. Okay, I'm just making notes here so we don't lose track of where we're at. I have a couple Condition 1 cases. They're pretty nice. All right. Do you want me to keep rolling? Just keep getting this done?
Yeah. We got a bunch to get through. So
All right. Yeah, let's do it. Let's keep rolling. All right, so next we get the Elite Survival Systems Guardian EDC backpack. I have this backpack, actually. I'm a really big fan of this backpack. I think it's really well made. I think these guys make a lot of good stuff. All right, here we go. The winner is Ryan. Ryan also has a Gmail address, and it happens to have the number 22 in it. So Ryan with 22 in your Gmail address, you are the winner of the Guardian EDC backpack from Elite Survival Systems, ESS. Great stuff. All right, next. Oh, some ammo. This is cool. I don't know if you've seen it. Dan, I know Riley's seen this, but we got this ammo from these guys called Mags & Co. And it comes in a soup can. Have you seen this?
No, I have not.
This is weird. It's crazy. But the theory is it's like airtight. So it lasts like forever. And it has like, you peel off the ammo label and it looks like food. It says like corn or pinto beans or something. So you could put it in your pantry and people will think you're just stockpiling corn when you're actually stockpiling ammo. Anyway, yeah, it's great. So it's 250 rounds of this. This is really high-end premium ammo. 250 rounds. You can put it in storage because it'll last forever. It's airtight in a soup can. And we're going to give away 3 of these, actually.
Is there a specific caliber?
This is 9mm. This is this is specifically 9mm. All right, so the first one is going to a guy named Bob. Last name starts with a J, and you have a Yahoo address. Looks like you were born in 1963, going by your email address, if that's what people put in their email addresses. So Bob, you get 250 rounds of Magco. All right, so next, let's see. I'm just kind of bouncing around a little bit here. We're going to do the Strikeman standard kit. So Strikeman makes this kind of dry fire training solution. It comes with like a laser ammo cartridge dealio thingy, and there's an app and these targets, and the app keeps track of your hits on the target. It's a whole thing. So anyway, they donated 3 things to the giveaway. They have a standard kit, a marksman kit, and a pro kit, and we're going to give away the standard kit right now. And the winner is Brian. Last name starts with a Z, and you have a Hotmail address. So Brian with the Hotmail address, last name starts with a Z. You won.
Brian with a Y or Brian with an I?
Brian with a Y.
Oh,
Brian with a Y. Last name is Z as in zebra. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Next. Here we go. Next, we're giving away a set of sights from XS Sights. So XS Sights, great manufacturer, U.S.-based manufacturer of aftermarket sights, primarily for handguns. And you can choose any set of sights on their website if you are the winner. We're going to actually have 3 people who win this. But the first one is going to be Austin. Last name starts with a P as in Paul. So Austin P with an Outlook.com email address. You won any set of sights you want from XS Sights. All right. Let's see. Next, we're going to give away something from Victos. Victos sent a couple products over here. to be given away. They make good stuff. Me and Riley just got matching new Victos coats. What do you think of your coat, Riley?
The Bershirkin Leo jacket.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm glad that you were the one who said it out loud.
It's really, it says it's a jacket, but dude, I wore
It's a coat
this morning in like 19-degree weather, walking kids to school, and I was perfectly comfortable. So to me, if it keeps you warm and below zero temperature, or below freezing temperatures, it's a coat. So nice jacket.
You know what? It's a jacket if you live in Minnesota. Okay. Anyway, so we're giving away the Victos Counteract CCW sling bag. The Victos Counteract CCW sling bag, and the winner is Tobin, 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 right? Tobin, I don't know.
Tobin, yeah.
Last name starts with an M, and you have a Gmail address. So that's the Victos Counteract CCW sling bag. If you live in North Carolina, it's that's not a jacket or a coat. It's like a kimono. It's like a parka or something.
Yeah. Kimono.
It gets down in the 20s.
That?
It gets down in the 20s about twice.
It gets down in the 20s. Yeah, that's not a cold thing. All right. Next, we are giving away
recently, didn't you?
We got a little bit of sleet out at Apache. They got a few inches of snow, but nothing made. I spent 10 years in Vermont. That's snow.
Yeah. You know what real snow is. Yeah.
All right, carry on.
All right, next we're giving away the Here we go. The Elite Survival Systems mainstay clipless IWB holster. Okay. Clipless IWB holster for those of you. Hopefully, this is the holster of your dreams. Christopher, last name starts with an O, and you have an iCloud email address. You're one of those cool Apple people. You won the clipless IWB holster. We're gonna go back. We're gonna do more ammo now. So another thing of 250, a soup can of 250 rounds of 9mm ammo. The winner is Matthew. Last name starts with an M. You have a Gmail address, and you were probably born in 1988, or maybe you graduated from high school. When people put a year in their email address, are they like, what are they going for? Is that the year they were born? I don't know.
Either year they were born or year they graduated. I agree. It's one of the two, always.
Yeah. Speaking of which, if that's the case, this dude's much older. So our next winner is winning the Strikeman Marksman kit, and it is Mark with the last name starts with the letter O. And if the year in the email address is a thing, Mark is he could be my dad. All right. Let's see. Next, we're giving away. Let's do an optic. This is the Swamp Fox Tomahawk. Now, the Tomahawk is a rifle optic. Let me get it in front of me so I can make sure I don't misspeak. It's a LPVO, and it's 6x24, one by 6x24. It's going to ship with their Freedom Mount cantilever. So this is a nice little package for whoever wins this. Here we go. Our winner is. Oh, there we go. Okay. Brandon, last name starts with a T, and the numbers 7605 are in your email address. Brandon T. 7605. That's not the year that guy was born. Okay.
Could be May of 76.
We're going to keep on bouncing around. Oh, there you go. Yeah, maybe. 7605. All right. Next, we are going to give away. We're going to give away a gun here eventually. We're going to do the gun last. All right. Next, let's do the Elite Survival Systems Crossbody Sling Pack. These are actually really popular. They sell a ton of these, and they look pretty cool. All right. The winner of this one is Michael, last name R, starts with the letter R, 949 in your email address. This is kind of fun, like looking at the numbers and wondering what they mean. All right. So, Michael, with the 949, you won the Elite Survival Systems Sentinel Crossbody Sling Pack. Whew, like we're halfway there. There's a lot of prizes. I better hurry up. All right, we're going to give away the barrel block. I told you. the Barrel Block Instructor Pack. So this is basically one of every caliber of barrel block. And the winner is Sean. Last name starts with an M. And there's no numbers in his email address, but it's at Hotmail.
Is that Sean SHA or
WN.
SEA?
SHAWN.
Sean what?
Yep. Last name starts with an M.
Cool.
And he has a Hotmail address. Yep.
Just helps people
all right,
know.
Yeah, if it's not you. Yeah, or if it is you. So next we're going to do a set of sites, another set of sites from XS Sites. All right. Again, you'll be able to pick any set of sites you want from their website. The winner is Jonathan. Last name starts with the letter B. And your email address has the number 12 in it. So Jonathan with the number 12, you get the set of sites from XS Sites. Next, we're going to give away a voucher. This is good for any holster from KSG Armory up to $100. You have a $100 voucher to spend on ksgarmory.com. And the winner is Joseph. Last name starts with a G. And you have the number 577 in your email address. How come none of my email addresses have numbers? Well, that's not true. I do have some email addresses with numbers. But these are interesting. All right. I'm going to keep on rolling. We got a lot to pick here.
My favorite is
Next.
when it's like, Jerry M 1792731 or something. It's like, whoa.
Tell
dude,
that to your
how do
grandma.
you remember that?
All right, so this one, the prize is another Condition 1 case. This is their 11-inch single pistol case, their number 184 case. And it's going to Chad. Last name starts with a B. And Chad has no numbers in his Gmail email address. All right, we're getting closer. We're getting very much so closer. The next prize is another set of sites from XS Sites. This is the last one of these. So the winner of the XS Sites, Christopher, last name starts with a C. No numbers, but you might be a lumberjack. And your email address is at Gmail.
Who was the winner on that one again?
Christopher, last name starts with a C and sounds like a lumberjack. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Next is the Strikeman Pro Kit. This one is won by Brian. Last name starts with an L, and it's a .gov email address. So that's a win.
Brian with an I or Brian with a Y?
This one is Brian with an I. Maybe it's a cop.
And last name initial was K or
L.
L.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Brian
I'm posting these in the chat if you didn't notice. So.
Oh no, I didn't notice. I'm too busy pulling winners. All right, that's cool. All right, our last thing of ammo. All right, 250 rounds, 9mm in a soup can. The winner is Steve. Last name starts with a T, and your email address is your name at Gmail. All right, and next we have Shane.
Dan for a moment, but he's back.
Okay, good.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, Dan's
hey,
like this is the most boring podcast I have ever been on in my life. Yeah, we hear you. All right, we're gonna give away a belt next. Any belt.
Can you hear me, Riley?
Yes, we got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we got you.
Yep.
All right, so next is a foundation belt from EDC Belt Co. And
Sorry,
the winner
I have
is
no idea what occurred right there. Just blank.
Yeah.
The internets don't like you.
What happened to Jake?
I also think there's a little bit of a lag between you, Jacob, and the other two of us. Just so you know, so that might.
I'm here.
Feed in. Yeah, cool. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, good. Did I already say that one out loud? Okay, so we're giving away the belt to Shane. Last name starts with the letter K. Shane K is getting an EDC Belt Co. belt.
Foundation belt. Cool.
Yeah. Next is the Victos Counteract Messenger Bag. And the winner is Mark. Last name starts with a B and the number 108 in your email address. Let's see. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Got like 4 more here. Next, we're going to give away a Mount Man Medical Yellowstone Trauma Kit. And the winner is Dean, Dean. Last name starts with the letter P as in Paul. And it's a .us email address. That's kind of interesting. All right. Next, we got...
That was Dean who?
Dean P as in Paul.
P. Cool. Congratulations, Dean.
Yep. Next is the Swamp Fox Liberty 2. 1x24 dot sight, 3 MOA red dot sight. The Liberty is their RMR footprint sight from Swamp Fox. So here we go. The winner is Ryan. Last name starts with a G. Ryan G. And you have a Yahoo email address. All right. Next, another KSG $100 voucher for any holster on ksgarmory.com up to $100. The winner is Victor. Last name starts with a W. And you have the number 357, which is our first caliber in your email address, Victor W. All right, 2 more. We got 1 more optic, then we're going to give away a gun. So the next one is, wow, this is a unique name. I think we would pronounce this Mylus. Mylous. There's probably not 2 Myluses who.
M-Y-L.
Mylous.
U.S. Okay.
Yeah.
No need for a last name, brief or
no.
Initial.
There's not 2 of those. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what you? Oh, I didn't say what they won. So, Mylus, you won the Swamp Fox Raider optic. So the Swamp Fox Raider is a Prism 6 MOA dot, great for your carbine. To mount on there. It's 1x20. Nice, great optic. So there you go. All right. So now let's get to the last one and the coolest one. We're going to give away the brand new Heckler & Koch CC9. So, yeah. Dan, have you shot this gun yet? There's the delay.
Either delay or he's not hearing you.
Well, that's not good.
I can't hear or see Jacob.
Oh, interesting. I definitely hear and see you both, so that's interesting. He does not.
Dan, will you refresh your browser? Just hit the refresh on it. Riley, you've put some ammo through a CC9. What do you want to say about this gun before we decide who won it?
Well, I think it's a fine pistol. The HK CC9 I've had now for 3 months, I think, and had it out a couple times and shot it. It runs really, really reliably, first and foremost, and is a super smooth shooter. So, folks know that sometimes things at HK don't happen super quickly. So they would say, most people would be like, well, they're finally bringing something to the market, in the P365 kind of category of guns. But when they bring things to the market, it means it's good and it's going to work, and then it's been, properly engineered, and it has all the proper safety, things that you want to have in a gun that you're carrying. So that's one thing you can stand behind on a pistol like the CC9. The other cool thing is it's actually the first U.S. made pistol from HK. Actually, it's technically made by HK USA, which is the HK or the USA division of Heckler & Koch. And so made by people right here in America. That's, American dollars going right here, to our people making it. So cool things about the CC9, and it's a fantastic gun. It's what's on my belt right now.
Yeah, me too. And this is a gun that's hard to get right now, so it's kind of a cool prize to be won. And the winner is, here we go. Wally. Wally, last name starts with an M. So Wally M. You have the number 9020 in your email address. You are the winner of the new HK CC9. So we will just get a local FFL from you, and we will ship that firearm to your local dealer, and you will pick it up from them following all the standard legal stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, it just occurred to me that Dan probably didn't hear when you said, "Hey, Dan, would you please refresh your browser?" Because you were the one that said that, Jacob, and he's not hearing you. So, and we'll get you back in here, and hopefully everything works. While he's doing that, congratulations to everybody. As I mentioned, I was putting all the winners into the YouTube and Facebook chat to go along with this video as it's being pulled, as these names are being pulled live. And so you can, if you missed some of the earlier announcements, you can scroll back hopefully through the chat there and or the comments and see those. Here we go, Dan. Maybe hopefully now he sees and hears Jacob. Oh, that's a good sign. A thumbs up.
Yeah.
So congratulations, everybody. and we're happy we could put together and organize this giveaway and to put so many awesome products in the hands of people. What a fun way to start the new year.
Cool. All right. Well, we gave away a bunch of stuff, including a gun. Let's get back to the real important stuff, which is the instruction, the training, the knowledge, and the wisdom.
Yes. So, dealing with the vehicle problem. We're like, the funny thing is we talk about personal defense or whatever, Dan, with it doesn't even have to be a gun involved, but let's just say in the context of like defensive shooting, let's just suppose that's already by itself a broad topic. And then you say, okay, how about vehicle defense, let's say, and people might think, well, that's a lot more narrow, and I suppose it is, but even that you can like dive into and crack that open and then go, oh, there's a lot here to unpack. So where do you think we ought to begin with a discussion like dealing with the vehicle problem?
I think the place to start is the place to start with anything defensive, and that is with mindset and approach to training. We always have to remember that as we walk around armed, that we are and should hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we should not entertain arguments, fights, road rage, any of that kind of stuff. Now, I say that as a lifetime aggressive driver. I have nothing makes me more let's just call it temperamental. Nothing makes me more temperamental than bad drivers who don't pay attention, aren't cognizant of their surroundings, and just act like buffoons on the road. That it really it upsets me a lot, and it requires a large amount of my emotional control to keep myself in a calm and relaxed state whilst amongst the motoring public. We have to think about stuff like that. When somebody throws us the universal signal, or cuts us off, or any of the things that occur on the road that discourteous, rude, or people who aren't paying attention do to us, we can't let our tempers involve ourselves in that to begin with. So that's sort of the mentality, the emotional space that we need to kind of put ourselves in when we are in our vehicles as armed citizens.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations that we see when we're looking at real life incidents that could just be avoided entirely, I think.
Yep.
And I think that that's where some of that kind of emotional intelligence comes from, is this idea that, hey, there's plenty that can be done to just and sometimes it's this sense of self-righteousness or pride or ego, or the desire to not let somebody get away with something that causes us to engage. I was watching a body cam video. Yeah, this is now maybe 3 months ago, from this husband and wife, kind of an older couple, older than me, but not my parents' age. And if David's watching this, old like David. Anyway, David's an employee of ours, and we're always razzing him because he's the oldest guy. Anyway, so these guys were at an airport, like doing a drop-off pickup thing at the terminal, and they were dealing with a road rage situation, and they seemed very calm, but they were so upset with this other individual that they called the cops. And they were following this person around, on the line with 911, right? Oh, now he's turning into this terminal. Oh, now he's doing this. Oh, don't worry, we'll keep an eye on him until you get here, kind of thing. And so, yes, I think, this emotional intelligence idea, Dan, I really appreciate you starting the conversation there, because so many of these incidents we could just avoid them entirely, right?
That is 100% accurate. Regardless of how skilled you may become, every confrontation has a non-zero percentage chance of you losing. It doesn't matter how good you are. somebody just has to be lucky. And as fate would probably have it for me, I ain't that lucky. So, I mean, that's the way you need to mentally approach this as an armed citizen. When you're in your car, it's not a place where you can throw the bird at people and honk. And, we need to take our walking around in public armed mental space and put ourselves in the same space in our vehicles. And a lot of those situations, Jacob, that you were talking about can be avoided simply by being like, sorry, yeah, that was my fault, my bad, we're good. And that sort of large body language through our windows and our windscreens, and probably 80 or 90% of those instances can be alleviated.
Mm-hmm. It's wise advice, because in today's world, like, you just don't even know who you're dealing with, who the driver is of that other vehicle. In a place like Denver, Colorado. I mean, I don't live in Denver proper, but we're in the Denver metro area, both Jacob and I. It's become quite a epidemic. I don't know if you want to call it that, but I mean, it kind of is, where there's so many vehicles on the road that aren't registered, or are super, super expired, uninsured. And lately I see a ton of vehicles that don't have any kind of plates or anything on them at all. And I see that, and immediately I go, stolen. You know what I mean? Like somebody's jacked that car, ripped off the plate or whatever, because there's not a temp tag on it. There's not a plate. There's nothing. It's just like, and they're out boldly just driving around, And I'm thinking, that's somebody I don't want to mess with, certainly. But even disregard that. Like, you don't know who these other drivers are or what they'll do, even over the slightest slight against them.
Mm-hmm.
And so people have killed over very little things. And so, I appreciate the start of a conversation of, I mean, my number one priority each day is, I want to make it to the end of the day, and I want to make it home and kiss my wife and my kids and go to bed with them, So that starts with not getting into an altercation of any kind to begin with.
Yeah. Attitude matters.
Absolutely. So the sort of the next sort of, I don't know, phase of thinking about this kind of thing is our driving habits, what we actually do with the vehicle. Because let's face it, 80% of us are doing this.
No, not us, and not here in Colorado. We have this new law that, like,
laws.
Are you kidding?
Yep.
I was on my phone half the time I was driving today, for sure. I'll just straight up, I'll cop to it. I'm on my phone when I drive frequently.
You're not alone in that, right? You're not alone in that. Riley's a big rule follower, and I know Riley doesn't do any such things like that.
Dead straight.
I've been known to be on my phone when I'm driving too. But the problem with that is, like any other distraction, it can be mitigated, it can be dealt with to a certain extent. But every time you glance at that phone, you aren't looking at something in your environment, right? And at 50, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, when we're commuting our daily drives, what can change in that second and a half that you looked at your screen? The sort of rule of thumb for an accident investigator is, per mile per hour, it's 1.44 feet per second, right? So if you're doing 60 miles an hour, 1.44 of 60, right?
It's like 80 something.
So if you do this and look for 1.5 seconds, you're over 100 feet covered of distance that you're driving in that amount of time. That's a lot of distance to cover, not being completely cognizant of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So maintaining our spatial awareness, what's going on around us, what the other drivers around us habits are, and we can pick up on that stuff very, very quickly. If you're paying attention, you can pick up on that person is literally, I don't even know how they're driving. Their face is in their phone. You know, that person right there is all over the, you know, weaving all over the lanes. I don't know if they're drunk, if they're high. You can pick up on this stuff. You know, this person coming up behind me, I'm doing 70 miles an hour and this person's coming up behind me. Yep, I might want to get over because this person's flying. If we're aware of our surroundings, we really tend to mitigate a lot of problems. So then we start to collapse in a little bit further. We look at city driving, right? You guys are in the Denver metro area. It's a pretty decent sized city, you know, plenty of congested traffic conditions and plenty of roadways that have center lane barriers, curbs on the side of the road that make evasion a little bit challenging. So those are other things that you really have to be aware of. Where can I egress in an emergency? Can I go to the right? Can I go to the left? How much room do I have between me and the car in front of me? If you can't see the roadway behind the tires of the vehicle in front of you, you don't have enough room to move. That's a pretty standard
rule of thumb. Yep.
If you're in traffic and you can't see the bumper of the car in front of you, you can't maneuver out of there without crashing into the vehicle in front of you. So at a minimum, at an absolute minimum, in congested conditions, keeping that distance enough that you can see roadway behind the car that's in front of you, that's an absolute minimum for city driving. Obviously at highway speeds, you want considerably more space than that, but that's a completely different ball of wax.
Yeah. I like that. I like, you know, because we're, you know, this is the less cool stuff. Like cool is shooting through glass and, you know, all that kind of thing. But this is the more critical stuff because it serves to save and protect our lives in more than an aggressive attack scenario or a carjacking, but also in just straight up like dumb drivers doing dumb stuff, or any number of things like that. So I think that's really valid, and I appreciate some of those tips. And there is something to be said about the differences in terms of different types of roads, different types of traffic situations, and things like that. So I think those are solid tips.
So I'm kind of going from bigger, you know, picture to smaller picture here. So the next thing we want to look at is what environments do most citizens encounter crime? And the very simple answer to that is parking lots. It shouldn't even be called street crime. It should be called parking lot crime. Mm-hmm. The most dangerous place everybody in America goes is Walmart. The Walmart parking lot is absolutely the most dangerous place that you visit statistically. Walmart has teams of lawyers that will work very, very hard to mitigate any of their liability involved in criminal activity. But a good friend of mine is a police officer in the jurisdiction right next door to where I live, and his number one place to go for criminal calls is the Walmart parking lot. And this is in a reasonably affluent small town in coastal North Carolina. That's where several of his physical altercations with suspects have come into play. And you being at the Walmart parking lot, you should have a heightened sense of awareness there. I don't know if you guys got dollar stores in Colorado, but North Carolina is lousy with dollar stores, and the dollar stores in other very, very big criminal hangout.
Yeah, I was
So
just thinking along with
Well, I think that.
Walmart. Oh, might be a little bit of delay there.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah. So I was just going to say, all parking lots are bad, right? I think we see Walmarts. I think are attract a certain lower consumer group, and so that's nature of the beast. They're also the largest retailer on the planet, so they just have a large number of locations, and that leads to them being overly indexed in the data. But I think the point, Dan, though I think not to downplay the validity of Walmart, Waffle House, gas stations, and dollar store parking lots, but also I think that the point is like that's a transitional space. Parking lots are just inherently like magnets for crime.
Yep. And we if you look at the basic reason behind that is you have to become nearly stationary for a longer period of time when you are either exiting your vehicle or getting into your vehicle, and you are not paying attention to what is going on around you because you are focused on a very specific, getting yourself into your passenger compartment. I know you guys got kids. I got kids. When my kids were little, the process of putting my children in the car was like a 6-minute thing with car seats and the all the seatbelt buckles everywhere. It's a process, right? And if you are getting into the car from Walmart, obviously you've bought some stuff, right? You've done your grocery shopping or picked up something from the pharmacy. So you've got your hands full. You aren't paying attention to your surroundings. This is an environment in which people who have nefarious mindsets, that's the reason that they're there, because their odds of any sort of resistance or even positive identification of them afterward, very, very low, because what's the classic victim statement when the cop first shows up on scene? He just came out of nowhere. No, he didn't. You weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Victim selection is easy in a place like a Walmart parking lot. Take your pick. It's always busy. There's always plenty to choose from. And for all the reasons you just stated, I mean, these are things I've discussed with my wife over the years. I mean, that is your most vulnerable time, is loading kids into the car, loading groceries into the car. You're vulnerable. You're out in the open for way longer than anything you ever want to do in a public place, and there's no way of getting around that. And so, I mean, there's ways of mitigating your risk and not being selected as that target, as that victim, but there's no way of getting around the problem of load kids, load stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it's not limited to that. I think that's a high probability thing. But like, I was just watching a surveillance video the other day. This might have been on the ASP channel because I watched a lot of their stuff, but I'm not sure that it was. Anyway, yeah, it was just some dude parked in his car in some like a pharmacy parking lot. And dudes, you see the car come in, casing his car, they swing out, then they swing back in, and then boom, they pull up, they block him in so he can't back out. Dudes jump out, hit both passenger side, driver side, pointing the gun, get out, get out, get out, get out. The dude actually showed some really good tactics. Maybe I'll come back to that story later. But he was not getting in or out of the car. He wasn't loading something, unloading something. He was just chilling. I don't know what he was waiting for, what he was doing there. But it's just a vulnerable space. Dan, you talked about making sure that we have maneuverability, that we can drive away. And I think that one of the inferences that you were making, though you didn't say it out loud, is this idea that when we're under threat in a vehicle, it is our best case scenario to just drive away, right? If we can just like hit the gas and turn, like huge win, right? So that's why you pointed that out. That's why you talked about that maneuverability thing. And in parking lots, we're much less likely also to have that maneuverability.
Correct. You kind of boil it down to the principles of what you want to do when it comes to a vehicle, right? And this is what I cover in my class around vehicle defensive problems. And this is lifted wholesale from Phil Groff of Vigor Training. He's the one who came up with the naming of these principles that I use, and I give him full credit for it because he's the one who came up with it. So principle number 1, Phil refers to as skinny pedal on the right. If you can just press that skinny pedal on the right, you alleviate all of these problems, right? So unless you are stopped or in traffic that you cannot get out of, press the skinny pedal on the right and leave. Just get out. The second issue is countering immediate threats. What does that mean? Immediate means immediate. It means right now. If we are around our vehicle but not in our vehicle, if we aren't committed to the act of getting in the vehicle and we see something approaching us, it would behoove us to either make haste away from our vehicle or get ourselves into that vehicle real fast and lock the doors. It depends on your situation. But, you know, like Riley pointed out, with kids, with groceries, whatever else, you know, we find ourselves dithering around our vehicles and not being aware of our surroundings and not making haste with getting that vulnerable part over. And that's kind of important stuff, as well as the situational awareness of what's going on in our general vicinity. And then after we can counter an immediate threat, we move to a superior position, whether that's leaving in our car or whether that is we have got ourselves out of the vehicle or away from the vehicle, depending on the situation that we are getting in. So it's those 3 things: skinny pedal on the right, counter immediate threats, move to a superior position. That's how we deal with vehicle related problems.
Yeah, that sounds strikingly familiar to what we teach in our vehicle curriculum. Though I don't remember where we sourced our exact language. Anyway, I really like that, and I think that it's not immediately obvious. I think there's a degree of intuition, counterintuitivity,
Intuitiveness.
Ooh, that sounds best. It's a little counter. Now I can't remember what I said. Crap. Anyway, it doesn't sound as obvious as it should. This idea of bailing out, of getting out of the car, of exiting and moving to a stronger position. But you know, the data suggests pretty strongly. I'd like to hear you talk to this, Dan. But the data suggests pretty strongly that just like fighting from within the car is a pretty vulnerable place to be in a fight from.
You know, like old people underwear, it depends. And I forget who I heard say that, but I adopted it because I love it. I think it's funny as all heck. But anyway, it depends. It depends on who you are. It depends on what your responsibilities are, right? Did I just put my 3-year-old into the back seat? You know, at that point, I can't legally or morally move myself away from you know, criminal attack and leave my child vulnerable. That's not a parenting thing to do. And it just depends. Is it 2 guys coming at me from around a large moving van and I'm a 5'2" female? I would suggest in that circumstance right there that me being on foot is probably a less advantageous place for me to be. I might want to put myself in the car and access any tools that I have at that point in time and give myself that little bit of barrier in between me and them, you know. But are you you know, is it one guy who looks all cracked out and you're Riley Bowman and you're a large human being who's a USPSA masterclass shooter? You know, maybe being away from your car, being able to move being able to put something between you and that individual. Maybe that's a tactic that you want to employ. It just depends on what the exact situation is. It depends on where in the transition of being in the vehicle to being out of the vehicle, or being out of the vehicle and being in the vehicle. Depends on where this interaction takes place.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the vehicle protects us from a lot of threats, right? I mean, someone's trying to stab me being in my car with the doors locked. That's a pretty legitimate layer of protection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That was going to be part of what I was going to add to this part of the discussion. Was it depends on what the specific threat is, because if you happen to see a threat approaching and you happen to see they have a gun in their hand, jumping in the vehicle is probably not the right choice, because that means nothing in terms of, it doesn't stop bullets. So, but yeah, if they're open-handed or they had a knife, then that buys me some time potentially, just depending on the specific circumstances. So I do like the option in many cases. If I'm outside the vehicle, that vehicle provides me a lot of opportunities to put distance and put things in between me and a potential threat, and affords me a lot of opportunities as well if I know how to use it. So, but to Dan's point, it depends.
So one of the things that's sort of terrible about vehicles, and I'll use Riley's example as sort of a segue into this, is that it is an unequal ballistic barrier, right? Meaning that if you're inside the vehicle, the person outside the vehicle, even if you are equally armed, the person outside the vehicle has a significant advantage, right? Because the amount of deflection and deceleration and deformation that occurs to the projectiles on their way through intermediate barriers, right? You have a limited amount of space between your windshield and you, or your side window and you. You have a very, very limited amount of space. They don't, right? So that is a very, very unequal ballistic problem. So if you do have a firearm identified, then getting your firearm into the fight may very well be the thing to do. But understand that they have a very significant ballistic advantage, because even if you're a large person with very long arms and you drive a big SUV, the distance between your torso, your upper torso, and your windshield is usually less than 3.5 feet, right? And that's a big vehicle. So the distance traversed, if they're shooting into your vehicle and you're shooting out, the distance that bullet is going to deviate coming in versus going out is very, very significant.
Yeah, I hope everyone's understanding what Dan's saying, because he's painting a really good picture, right? But if we know, and it's not consistent, I'm not trying to create some rule of thumb. I'm just trying to give an apples to apples comparison. But if the bullet, on impact of glass is going to deviate 15 degrees, just throwing out a random number here. If it's going to deviate 15 degrees, then that means if I'm 2 feet away from that glass, it hasn't deviated that much by the time it gets to me. But on the converse, if I'm shooting out, from within the vehicle outside, and it deviates 15 degrees, well, if my attacker is 10 feet away, then that 10 feet is 15 degrees deviation is significant enough. I can miss entirely. In fact, I might absolutely miss entirely. So that's what Dan means when he talks about that ballistic difference. The other thing that I think is relevant there is just the advantage that comes with the ability to move. It's pretty hard in the car to move, to be like, oh, I'm going to shuffle over here to the left, I'm going to shuffle over here to the right. Like, you ain't going nowhere.
I mean, certainly a guy Riley's size isn't moving around very much inside a car, right?
Though I have seen Riley run a drill where he sat in a driver's seat, had to grab his carbine, shoot through the driver's side window, and then crawl across the
Yes.
console and exit out the passenger side. That was entertaining. That was a crappy little 2-door coupe, and it was fine for me, but watching Riley do that was quite funny.
Yes, watching large people in small places, it can be amusing.
Yep.
So you
Good
hit on
times.
that. You hit on that really well, Jake. That the ability to engage an immediate threat through a windshield specifically, it really does have to be basically right on top of you for any sort of real statistically good chance of still getting a solid hit on target. But understand that windshields do terrible things to pistol handgun bullets. Pistol bullets do not do well going through windshields. Windshields are multi-layered, right? They have 2 layers of glass with a very tough, I believe it's polyethylene sheet in between them, and it is glued to each one of those pieces of glass there, and it creates a very tough barrier. If you don't believe me, go try it. Go to a junkyard and try it out. Take like a hand hatchet, right, and try to chop a windshield out. It is a tough thing to do. As a side note to that, if you do have to get through a windshield, once you make a hole, a drywall saw works really, really well. But that's a totally other aside thing.
Which, I mean, also speaks, by the way, to, well, what do I got to do if I do got to engage attacker through a windshield? And, once a hole has been punched, you don't have to worry about any deviation at all, right?
How many times you put exact 1 9mm round exactly through the previous hole?
Me or Riley?
I honestly don't care. Like,
no, you're not. You're not wrong. And nor do we generally have targets that hold steel so sufficiently long that I'm going to be like, dude, don't move while I punch me out of a decent little hole here, so that my next round will hit you. But I'm speaking theoretically, depending on the circumstances. It's worth understanding that if there's a hole, like that's somewhere I could put a bullet through and not have to worry about this problem.
You are correct. That the theory behind that is called porting. You're porting that windshield by creating a hole in it, and then following through that same hole. The best way to do that is to be as close to the glass as possible with the hole that you've already created. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into this with the class that I teach. How to mitigate things, how to draw your holster. One of the things that people don't do is they don't practice drawing their gun while seat belted in their car. People don't practice that unless you're me.
It's hard enough to get people to practice just in the comfort of their home with
drawing it all.
No extenuating circumstances whatsoever. So yes, you're not wrong.
If that's not a thing that you have considered, trained on, practiced repeatedly, when the flag flies, how well are you going to perform? What does your seated seatbelted draw look like from strong side or AIWB, or God forbid, cross draw or small back? There are ways to mitigate that fairly efficiently. Seated and belted in my vehicle with my hands at 10 and 2 on my steering wheel, I still have about a 1.5, 1.7 concealed draw to first trigger press. That's a pretty decent draw for seated, belted, and concealed hands on steering wheel. But that's something that I've considered. I've set up specifically, and I practice.
Yeah. And anyone can practice that. dry, right? I mean, you can sit in
Yep.
your garage or in your driveway, barrel block the gun or get a SIRT
Yep.
pistol or whatever the thing is you need to do to render it safe and inert, and just work through it. Kind of solve the problem slowly and efficiently. Okay, can I still remove my cover garment, or is that trapped under the seatbelt? What might I do to manage that? Do I have to lean one way or another? Do I have the physical capability, like with my bucket seat, to move my body effectively to be able to access my gun? Yes, no, right. Like I just think this is the kind of thing that. I mean, me and Riley have video training content on this topic in our members area for Guardian Nation members. But at the end of the day, there's sort of this like, you got to just go try this for you.
It is. It's vehicle dependent, right? It's dependent on what your constraints are based on yourself, your physical capabilities, and your vehicle. What can you do? Now, there are some general principles of how to access your holster efficiently. One of the things I want to address with your watchers and listeners is this: do not put your seatbelt behind your AIWB gun. And what I mean by that is you see people who will put their seatbelt behind their gun like this because they want to be able to access their gun more quickly. Don't do that. That completely negates the reason for having a seatbelt where the seatbelt is designed to be. The seatbelt is designed to go low across your hips so that you can take a load-bearing hit and that seatbelt will not do damage to your internal organs. Right? If you take that off of your hips and put it on your abdomen, now in a vehicle crash, you have things like lacerated intestines, hernias, and other kinds of internal injuries that are going to require some hospitalization for that you didn't need to do in the first place.
Well, I think that's the biggest point of that message, right? Is it's like, if that somehow gave you an advantage, then it would be, interesting to discuss, albeit still unsafe. But more relevantly is, you're not getting any advantage. Like, just put the seatbelt where it's designed to go, and there's no conflict to begin with.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Another thing that I address in class sort of at length is the idea of vehicle holsters, where you see them mounted in a variety of places under the dash, to the right or to the left of the steering wheel, holsters that go in between your seat and your center console, things of that nature. Those are suboptimal for a large number of reasons. Chief among those reasons is human beings are lazy and will be like, I'm just getting out to get gas. I can leave the gun sitting right there in that holster. I can do X, Y, Z. I can just run in here to the store and leave that there in the holster. Or you can be on the phone with your mom who just told you that she has cancer, and now you're just emotionally invested in that conversation. And you don't think about the fact that your gun is not on your body. It's now in a holster in your driveway, and you're going inside and you're talking to your family. And, that's the day that somebody decided to, some teenager decides to break into your car. And now they have a gun that you no longer have.
Can I give you I don't know if you've seen this product, but we kind of hurt somebody's feelings last year when they were all excited to tell us all about it. But it's called the cup holster, and mounts in a vehicle cup holder and acts as a specifically designed holster for your gun right there. And which, I understand, like, because there's people that'll just stick a gun in a cup holder, which is not a good idea at all for all kinds of reasons. But I remember having this discussion where I said something to the effect of, how many other vehicles can you see into the vehicle as you're driving next to them? And now you're driving along, and maybe someone pulls up alongside you because you cut them off, and they're ticked off, they're mad at you, and they look over and see that thing sitting next to you in your cup holster.
Yep.
And just because they're mad at you, and they know they can use it against you. Call 911 and be like, "Yo, I this road rage incident. This guy did this, blah blah blah, and guess what? He's got a gun." And just imagine how that's going to go for you, especially when you get pulled over and are found that you do in fact have a gun right there. So anyway, any further thoughts on that?
The more people who know you have a gun, the less in control of undesirable outcomes you are.
Right.
It's why I'm not an advocate of open carry, right? I'm not an advocate of poorly concealed carry. There should be zero indicator that you are in an armed status, because it doesn't give away information, right? How do we gain advantage over other human beings? We have more information than they have. That is the entire point behind formulating strategies. I don't give my potential adversary any more information than is absolutely necessary, and I maximize the amount of information that I have available to me. I want to make this a very, very unequal confrontation, in my own favor. And that's whether you're an attacker or whether you're a defender, right? If you're an attacker, you want to recon that person. You want to figure out what their habits are. You want to figure out what they are doing, what distracts them, what takes their attention away from anything in their surroundings. But if you're a defender and you walk around with your head up and not buried in your phone, and you're aware of your surroundings, and you're driving defensively and giving yourself space between other vehicles, and you're looking around before you get out of the car in the parking lot, you're looking around the parking lot before you get back into the car. If you're engaged in all of these things, it's part of the victim deselection process, right? Somebody looks at that and it says, yeah, he's looked at me twice walking through this parking lot. He already knows what I look like. I'm not going to bother with that one. There are far more fish who aren't paying attention. So if you take yourself out of that selection process, you win, right? Because you win every single confrontation you're not involved in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your comments. You know, the way I like to say it, I can't remember who I stole this from. It's certainly not my original verbiage, but I like to say that the car is not a holster.
It's not.
Right. So, like, the car is not a good holster.
Nope.
And so, you mentioned, just the lazy human factor, or just the general risk of not having the gun with you or leaving it there, and that causing problems. But we've also seen incidents. I mean, I'm not a cop. I don't show up on accident scenes, but we have seen incidents of cops flying, of guns being dislodged in some sort of accident, and guns flying down the freeway, through a windshield, or and if the whole intent of you getting bumped from behind is to now carjack you or rob you, which we've seen happen as a standard practice. And that little bump dislodged your gun, and now it's under your seat and you can't reach it. You have a serious problem now.
It's actually rather common. I have, in my time as a law enforcement officer, I've responded to several thousand vehicle crashes of a variety of different severities, right? The vast majority of those are, bumper to bumper, very minimal damage, no real injury. But probably about 5 or 10% of the crashes that I have showed up to over the course of time are very serious accidents. A subset of those crashes, there have been guns in the vehicle. I can tell you this: every single time there was a nasty collision and there was a gun in the vehicle that was on the person who was driving or a passenger and was in a holster, that gun was still there after the crash. I have seen a number of instances where there have been magnets, the car magnet things, where there have been holsters, where there have been loose guns just sitting on dashboards, or a cup holder like Riley was talking about. I have seen numerous instances where somebody will tell me, my gun was in my car. Is it still there? Like they're on an EMS stretcher, right? And they're like, my gun was in my car. Is it still there? I don't know where my gun is. and I go looking through a vehicle looking for a gun. Maybe it's there, maybe it ain't.
Yeah. I like that. Riley, I think
I was muted. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stuff is everywhere after an accident.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you ever
yeah.
responded or assisted with an accident scene, I mean, there's stuff you lost 10 years ago if you've had that vehicle that long that all of a sudden makes an appearance. You're like, oh, that's where that went.
Yeah. In fact, Riley, you had an issue once.
From my seats.
Yeah, once I remember, Riley, you got rear-ended by a car, and it bumped your cell phone to a place you couldn't reach it as you were trying to dial emergency services.
That made it difficult. Yes, in fact, speaking of cup holders or whatever, my phone was in a cup holder, and I was traveling north on I-25. I was doing about 75, 80, and I got rear-ended by somebody doing over 100, and it was pretty jarring. I mean, mostly because I didn't quite see it coming until like the last second. And it was, I was lucky to stay in control of my vehicle. And then I was like, man, where'd my phone go? I got to call this in. And I could not find that thing for a good while. So, that is the thing.
Crashes, even relatively low impact crashes, especially if you don't see them coming, it's a very, very jarring experience. You think about the amount of kinetic energy that a 2,500 pound vehicle doing 15 or 20 miles an hour, how much energy that really is. And, you can be just sitting there minding your own business. This actually happened to my wife a few years ago. She was sitting at a red light, and right in town, from behind, dude was paying no attention and rear-ended the minivan that she was driving. The minivan's a big empty box, basically, right? And it crushed that thing back up. It was a very jarring experience for her, because she never really saw it coming. And if you are in an armed status and it's not on your body, how cognizant are you going to be in that circumstance of where's my gun? Is that going to be your primary thing? I don't think so. Your primary thing is going to be like, am I injured? Is my family injured? You're adding problems by taking the gun off your body. Right.
Yeah.
Now there are circumstances that exist where we have to take our guns off our bodies. Right.
Sure.
That if we are going to the county courthouse for something that we need to do. Right. I don't know too many courthouses in America where they allow your average everyday citizen to just carry their concealed gun up into the courthouse. That's not real common. So if you're going to do that as part of your day, you're going to go from the office, or you're going to go there first and then go to the office, and you are in a armed lifestyle like I am, like Riley is, like Jacob is, you need to have a safe place to put that, right? The majority of people will throw it in their glove box or throw it in their center console. They may lock that. But I can tell you from experience that I can rip open any console, or I can open any glove box that I've ever seen with my bare hands. It's just a plastic latch. It's it's nothing significant. That's not someplace you store a gun. You put a gun in something metal that is designed for a gun. Personally, huge fan of the LifePod 2.0. That's as close as I can get to an endorsement for a product that they don't pay me or anything, but it's a really good product, and you can cable lock the box itself to the frame of your seat. That's where you store guns in circumstances where you have to disarm.
That's good advice. And we've offered the same advice for quite a few years consistently on this podcast now.
The number one place that criminals get guns from is vehicle robberies. Mm-hmm. That's where they get them. I was I believe it was Tom Givens was talking to me about this, and I want to say it was either Dallas or San Antonio, Texas, 2 or 3 years ago. That one city had like 12,000 firearms reported missing from vehicle thefts.
Jeez. I thought, though, there was one time on the podcast, Jacob, do you remember this, where we reported on City of Denver issued a statement or something? It was like July
You did a
of the
press
year.
release. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
July of that year, and they're like 713, firearm thefts from vehicles have happened thus far, and I'm like, that's a lot. Well, Dan just told me that somewhere had 12,000.
It is. I mean, in fact, the Denver chief police described it as a pandemic, vehicle. The point is, it's super not good. I think
to the point
I really
that now we're
appreciate that.
forced here in Colorado with a new law, because it's such a pandemic. They've written a law that requires us to store them in a locked, secure container in our vehicles, or we can be punished with some kind of misdemeanor. Anyway,
we have to lock up the gun, or they'll lock us up.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of legal remedies most of the time. Restricting the rights of the citizenry is usually not the way to go. But if you're watching this or listening to this podcast, you're already getting more information than your average CCW carrier. Don't make it easier for criminals or politicians to take your guns, right? So keep them on your body when you're in your car. And I get the discussion all the time is, well, I'm in the car a lot. I spend a lot of hours on the road, and it's just not comfortable. Well, you need either a better holster, you need to adjust your belt, the ride height of your pants, or something around that idea. I've driven from my home here in coastal North Carolina to Gray, Maine to teach a class in Gray, Maine. I did that. That's about 18 hours of driving. I drove from here to Key West, Florida, which is about 17 hours of driving for my wedding. That's where I got married. I've driven from here to Oklahoma for the Guardian Conference. I've driven from here to Dallas, Texas. That's 22 hours. All armed. The gun stays right where it belongs.
And I can say much the same. I actually recall a trip with Jacob back from, I think it was the Concealed Carry Expo when it was in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Remember you and I deadheaded like straight from Pittsburgh to home. I think we did stop and sleep for like 3 hours or something in Hayes, Kansas.
In the car.
The car, just in the front seats and carrying appendix the whole time, like, however many hours that was straight. But anyway.
Well, that's what happens when you have a nice like KSG Lexington.
Yes, good job, Dan. Yes, nailed it.
It's
this episode brought to you by.
Riley was nice enough to send this to me, and this is one of my favorite holsters I've ever used. This is an excellent piece of gear. It's very, very comfortable. And you can keep a gun on 24 hours easy, in the car, not in the car, whatever. So,
appreciate that, man.
So, yeah, I did that just to kind of throw that out there for you. The KSG Lexington, it's a good holster. It really is a good holster.
Awesome.
But so that covers a large percentage of how we want to address our mindset, our preparations, our training and practice around the vehicle problem. There are some specific techniques that make things a lot easier. So I suggest you find me and take my class. But yeah, I think that covers a lot of the wave tops anyway. If you guys got some specific questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I think we're at a point where we actually got to start wrapping it up. But
Okay.
I was sitting here as well, Dan, thinking like, yeah, I think we've covered a lot of different angles of the vehicle problem, and I mean, a little bit tactically speaking, but mindset, as you said, where we started with, and also talking about, I mean, even just the act of, hey guys, you can carry in your vehicle and leave it on you and do that comfortably and still have options, still be able to draw from your, I mean, it's a little bit tougher to draw from certain carry positions in the vehicle. Um, I'm not, I remember back in the days, quite a few years ago now, fortunately, but I used to carry about 4 o'clock, 4:30, and I remember the first time I ever practiced drawing from that position, and it was a good number of years before I think I actually practiced that. And you're like, that kind of sucks trying to, get my gun out from there, Uh, Now, of course, me, Jacob, and I know you, Dan, we all pretty much carry appendix, and it makes that problem really a non-problem. I don't even, worry about it really. I mean, I still practice it. In fact, we featured in the 21-day challenge, and you did a little video for a 21-day challenge just last month or whatever in December,
Yep.
where I did a drill encouraging people, hey, we're going to be seated, we're going to do this. I mean, I'm just doing it set up here in the studio.
Yep.
But you could do this in your vehicle, and hopefully people actually practice that for the first time ever.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That challenge is really good. We should do a podcast about that sometime. I think we might want to come back and do a part 2 to this, because I think there are a lot of other little vehicle related things to discuss, but it's critical to kind of, you build a house from the foundation up. And I feel like, Dan, that's the conversation we've had here today, is we've really talked about the foundation of the vehicle problem. And we appreciate your insights.
Yeah, for sure.
Happy to be here.
So before we let you go, Dan, any last plugs you want to throw out there?
Excuse me. Oh. Well, I'll be at Guardian Conference teaching something, whatever these gentlemen asked me to teach. I'll be at TACCon in Texas. I'll be teaching at Girl and a Gun in Colorado. So I assume I'll probably see one or both of you in one of those events anyway. Guardian Conference for sure.
Yep.
I've got a class in Kansas, in Manhattan, Kansas. I've got a vehicle defensive problems class coming up in Manhattan, Kansas in August. So if you've never been to Kansas in August, you should come.
Very cool. Yeah. That's not too far from us here, really.
Been there a few times.
You can fly into Denver and drive out to Manhattan, about 7 hours. Some people will be like, "Oh, wow," but that's a short drive for me. Or you can fly to Kansas City and drive over there, or you can fly directly into Manhattan if you want to do that. That's not a bad little airport. It might be a little more expensive, but
or you can do what I'm going to do and drive from my house.
Awesome,
which is what we always do. Yep.
Again, folks, check Dan out, his classes, and also the whole team over there at Apache Solutions at ApacheNC.com. One more shout out to today's episode sponsors, which were CCW Safe, ccwsafe.com, and as we mentioned a couple times now, the Guardian Conference in September or later this year, guardianconference.com. Last words, Jacob, anything?
Sorry, I was muted. Last words. Get signed up for the Guardian Conference. Now is the time to get signed up for the Guardian Conference. You have anybody, no matter your job, can get time off in September while we're still in January, and it's the best price that you're going to pay. I mean, I hear from other industry people all the time. I mean, we got Dan on, so I'll put him on the spot a little bit. We're asking people to pay between $550 and $800 to go to the Guardian Conference. You've been there. You know who teaches there. Like, what do you think about what we're asking people to pay?
Considering the fact that myself and most of the other trainers that I know from there charge about $500 to $600 for a 2-day class that is specific to our material, the Guardian Conference is really it's like an all you can eat buffet of training, and you can get a really good taste of what a wide variety of instructors bring to the training table. Is this a person that I want to give a substantial amount of my time and treasure to train with? If you get a 4-hour block of instruction with 6 different people in a 3-day weekend, that's a lot of bang for your buck.
Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing your perspective
Thank
on
you.
that as well. Yeah. I certainly, I think how we feel, I've done a lot of training over the years. I've trained with a lot of instructors and been to a lot of different schools and things. And I mean, you're talking 3 days of just awesome training. And I'll tell you this is what impresses me about the instructors that we select for the Guardian Conference. They try to responsibly pack into the 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is they're teaching the most meaningful things that they can do in that amount of time. So you're getting a really, I think, high impact amount of instruction in that time frame. Again, from a variety of instructors that are all respected and across a variety of disciplines, because you have so many opportunities to learn so many different things. There's not very many opportunities where you can do that in this country. So get to. Thanks for your words on that. Folks, hope to see you there later this year. With that, we're going to sign on out of here, let everybody go. Dan, thank you for your time today, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And everybody else, until next time, a reminder to train right, train often, and train safe so you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care.